Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. Let's talk boxing. A big fight this weekend as Saudi Arabia hosts Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. This is a technical breakdown and prediction video for that fight. We're not going to go into analyzing every aspect of their games, but rather I'm going to talk about certain specific areas that I think could be key in determining the outcome of this fight. Now, let's start off discussing Francis Ngannou. And if we're going to talk about a stylistic similarity to another top heavyweight, the guy he reminds me most of among the top heavyweights is actually Dillian Whyte. Now, I know you guys are going to be confused and looking at the screen all baffled what you're chatting about, Chris. Listen, before you start laughing your heads off, hear me out. I'm not saying they're clones of each other. Quite frankly, Francis Ngannou has some attributes that Dillian Whyte simply doesn't possess. He seems to have a granite chin, a much better chin than Dillian's. He seems to be physically stronger than Dillian Whyte. He may even have better balance. Dillian Whyte is a more cultured boxer, though. He has a better jab. He goes about setting up his work in a more intelligent fashion. However, there's a certain strength that they both have where they overlap. And that is looking for a trigger counter, particularly with the left hook, when you are letting go of your work. They are both at their most dangerous when you are in the pocket firing against them. With Dillian, he will catch and counter or duck down and then use that duck as leverage to develop a powerful left hook or right hand. With Francis Ngannou, it's a little bit different. He doesn't slip shots. He doesn't come under them. Quite frankly, he bites on all the feints that Tyson Fury was throwing. But ultimately, he's looking to punch with you, and he's using your punch as a trigger to counter his own big left hook. And as a result of that, when you're, as I said, you're letting go of your own work, he's at his most dangerous. That is essentially his game. He's patient and he's got very good timing, but he's quite crude. And the way he lets go of his shots is always going to be left and then right or right and then left. He's not really a guy who's going to start doubling up on jabs and trying to be smart in setting up offense. He's trying to stay safe if he can and then letting go of a big shot. And if he can't stay safe, he's willing to risk it all to let go of his own work as you let go of yours. It's basic, but dangerous. When he is the one that is trying to initiate attacks, he's actually quite limited, Francis Ngannou. And his feet are a major problem as to why he can't let go of a second phase of attack. And it makes him very limited when he's trying to be the one to build the attacks himself. Take a little look here. He's too far out to really throw a punch here and reach Tyson Fury. But he does have a narrow stance. So he can potentially shift these feet in closer. He can use some feints. He can do something to try and work his way in gradually. Instead, he takes a deep step with that jab that barely touches Fury. But now look how wide his stance is. He hasn't brought that back foot behind him. He hasn't gotten close to Fury. So now when he tries to throw that backhand, he's overreaching and Fury's able to just step back. There's nothing really on the shot, touches his chest, but Fury goes onto the ropes. And here he's in a bit of a, well, let's say uncomfortable position. You don't want to be square on with your back on the ropes and a guy like Francis Ngannou coming at you. But because his feet haven't come with him and he needs to then reset essentially and plant his feet again, Fury's quite comfortable. Now, as that lead foot finally plants, Fury's making his exit with a simple lateral step. And Ngannou, rather than stepping across to cut off the ring, he overreaches again with the backhand, and it's a nice, easy exit for Tyson Fury. Once again, he throws a throwaway lead hand. There's nothing on that. It's just misdirection to try and set up the big backhand, which falls short. It lands on the shoulder of Tyson Fury. Once again, Fury is back up on the ropes, and he changes the level, takes a simple lateral step, and gets out. Again, an inability to cut off the ring from Francis Ngannou, and an inability to be creative on his entry point. Here you see another situation where he's just thrown a right hand from too far out. He misses. He throws the left hook from too far out. He misses again. Here in this exchange, you see that he tries to throw another throwaway left hand, followed by a right hand over the top. Fury rolls with it, tries to counter with his own right hook. They both end up missing their own final hooks. But again, Ngannou looks a bit wild because he's too far out. In this sequence here, Tyson Fury's in the turnbuckle in the corner. He should have no easy exit. But again, Ngannou is crude. He's not going to feint his way in and then unleash a vicious combination. Instead, he touches with that left hand, looking for that right hand. Again, the typical thing that he does. Fury changes the level. He then aborts the mission, Ngannou, because he realizes his position's changed. I'm not going to hit him. Let me try and step back. Fury steps in. He's able to come close and collapse the pocket. Ngannou actually holds him off here and tries to throw some consecutive uppercuts. Fury's strong enough in this particular exchange to be able to hold him off too. But he's basically out of danger far too easily. An overextended jab from Ngannou there, leaping in. He's caught with a little touch of the left hand and then a chopping right hand from Tyson Fury. Here you can see that he's gone back to southpaw. And again, although it's the throwaway right hand this time with a powerful left hand, because it's from a southpaw stance, it's actually the same sort of dynamic. He's throwing a throwaway lead hand with a powerful backhand. They both fall short. Okay, that came off of the gloves of Tyson Fury, and then he's too far out to be able to go on a second phase of attack. Fury here jabs him. He tries to do something a bit different, step on the outside. He ends up falling short once again with the backhand, and he's punished for it. Once again there, far too far out when he's letting go of his shots. That Superman punch, for some reason, was making headlines. He missed by an absolute mile. Once again there, he's overreaching. He gets caught with a left hook. Now, with Tyson Fury, he's very, very slick on the back foot. He's slicker than AJ on the back foot. He's more evasive. He's got some really nice upper body movement. His head movement is very good, changing slots consistently when he's on the back foot. He's very, very hard to get to when you're chasing him. When he's coming at you, often he'll want to use his physical construct to collapse the pocket, bump into you, and affect your construct and balance. Anthony Joshua operates differently. Whilst he might not be quite as slick as Fury on the back foot. We'll talk about his defensive maneuvers when he's exiting the pocket in a moment. When he's on the front foot, he's actually better balanced than Fury. He doesn't try to use his body to break the construct of his opponent. Instead, he has quite centralized body weight, and he looks to fence, and he looks to maintain really good distance control. He will touch you and prod and poke and stab jab and land right hands where necessary without having to step too far deep into the pocket, more often than not. And as a result of this, you could very well see a situation where Francis Ngannou is going to be frustrated thinking, I can't get to AJ. He's not coming at me in the same way that Fury was. I'm going to have to start initiating. And as we just showed you, he's very limited in that capacity. So if AJ does fight a cautious fight and fences and makes Ngannou work to try and close the pocket, he could end up making this quite an easy night's work. Particularly as we know that AJ is also a very, very adept counterpuncher. So as Francis Ngannou tries to step in and overcommit, and also let's not forget, he was biting on all of the feints of Tyson Fury. Fury wasn't looking like himself in that fight. But Ngannou himself was making mistakes. And with Anthony Joshua's counterpunching ability and his ability to fence, he could be looking at Francis Ngannou from range and saying, I'm going to school this guy. Having said that, Anthony Joshua might also be thinking that he wants to put on a better performance than Tyson Fury and really make a statement. And when he really wants to sit on the right hand, he has somewhat of a tendency to overreach and overcommit in the pocket. This could potentially be a recipe for disaster against someone like Francis Ngannou. You could see whether it's against Otto Wallin or Jermaine Franklin, one's a southpaw, one's orthodox. We know that Francis Ngannou can switch. On numerous occasions, Anthony Joshua's weight distribution was all wrong when he's trying to really sit on a shot, and he was getting punished for it and countered for it. And this, like I said, for a guy who's got the punch and power of Francis Ngannou, and he's looking for one individual shot to potentially try to change the trajectory of the fight, this could be a recipe for disaster. So how does AJ try to overcome the fact that sometimes he will really lean into that shot? Well, his last line of defense is to throw up a hand and use it as a shield. It's almost like holding a telephone up towards your ear, and he's quite adept at it. As you can see here, he's very defensively responsible when it comes to throwing up that hand. In fact, even when he's the one who's using powerful shots and very offensive, he's still got that in his mind. You see here, he catches the attempted jab from Jermaine Franklin. He throws a lovely little right hand there. And as he's coming out to recover his position, you can see how he throws that hand up. That could be a problem for Francis Ngannou because, as we said, on the second phase, he's not as effective. So is he going to be able to land flush with that first shot if AJ's defensively responsible enough to be thinking about protecting himself even when he's on the offense? Well, one area where AJ does become a little bit reckless is on his exits. He can exit quite tall, too tall, and he exits in straight lines. As you can see here with various examples, he backs up consistently in straight lines. And when you double up the jab or you double up certain shots, you can close the range against him. And as you can see from that second to last sequence and this last one here, he likes a downwards parry too, which we'll speak about in a moment. Now, whether this translates with Francis Ngannou or not is another story because, as we've already shown, he's not great on that second phase of attack. So even if AJ is able to exit in a straight line and not get caught the first time, is Ngannou going to improve enough with his feet to be able to get to Anthony Joshua with that second phase of attack. Even if Francis Ngannou doesn't quite have the footwork or foot speed to be able to follow Anthony Joshua out and capitalize on that, we've already spoken about one area where he could potentially capitalize, and that is by punching with AJ if AJ is looking to let go of a big right hand. But in addition to that, even if Anthony Joshua is not looking to take risks, there's another thing that he does which could provide a pattern for Francis Ngannou to try and capitalize on. And that is that he likes a down parry. His backhand, he will use it to parry down against any specific jab to the body. Now, this is fine if you're able to maintain range while you're doing it, because you're stopping a shot to the body and then you're too far out of range for the backhand to the head. The problem is Anthony Joshua will often not exit far enough in that situation. And by providing a pattern in that way, you're leaving yourself open to a dangerous situation when you parry down, stay tall, and do not create any distance. And you can see that even a shorter guy with shorter limbs like Jermaine Franklin is able to capitalize on that and make Anthony Joshua pay for those mistakes. He's punishing him for it. And you do not want to be getting caught with those sorts of shots by Francis Ngannou. There's also another defensive pattern that Anthony Joshua likes to use. He turns behind the shoulder, rotates away from the shot, and he's trying to cut off the trajectory of you trying to land the shot. But he does it by being quite square on and then trying to become bladed as he turns off. So as you can see there, as he's turning behind that shoulder, he's trying to hold the phone to the ear like we spoke about, and he's rotating away from the shot. If you don't do this quickly enough because you were too square on initially, you can find gaps through the center line and land on Anthony Joshua. That's one example there. Here is another example where AJ actually throws a right hand and falls short. He's overcommitted again. You can see his weight distributions beyond that lead foot, right? So he's gone for a real power shot here. It's well slipped by Jermaine Franklin, who is then able to squeeze the shot between the guard of AJ, who's trying to turn away, as you can see there. That may have fallen just a bit short, but a guy like Francis Ngannou has longer limbs than Jermaine Franklin. And if you're getting caught like that on exit and it lands right on the side of your jaw, that could be a really problematic shot to get hit with. You see here, Anthony Joshua once again throws the right hand, real commitment behind it. He's not gone over his lead foot in this particular instance, but he's really planted on that lead foot. It's parried by Jermaine Franklin, who actually shows some really high level stuff here. Let's just take a look at what Franklin does. He sees the right hand come in. He parries it the first time with the outside hand. Then he throws the lead left hook, which is not really a punch. It's just designed to pull down the hand of AJ, because we spoke about the fact that he's defensively responsible and throws that shield up to hold the phone to his ear, right? Franklin has spotted this and he goes about trying to stop this happening. Pulls down that shot and then lands the right hand. This time the shot came around the back of the guard, but it all came from the fact that he was able to manipulate the attempted defensive maneuver of AJ. Here you see AJ go for a left uppercut. And as he misses, he tries to then frame Franklin. But once again, high level stuff from Franklin. He notices this. He knows that once AJ throws a punch, he wants to bring his hand back to his head. It's a pattern. So what does Franklin do? He pulls down on that shot and throws a big right hand. And if you see it in full speed, you can see how good this is from Franklin. Bang. Now in this next sequence, you see that they're both actually doing some really high level stuff. First, Anthony Joshua takes a little shift step back there to create extra spacing, just as he's expecting the jab from Franklin. He's doing this in order to counter him with a big right hand. But once again, Franklin, he spotted the fact that once AJ throws that power hand, he wants to bring it back to his head without collapsing the pocket like Fury might do, or without then quickly exiting because he's shifted so much weight onto that front foot. So what does he want to do? He wants to stop that hand going back up to his ear instantly. Despite just being caught with a big right hand, he hooks the actual hand from AJ and then throws the shot through the center line. Now, in addition to that, I want you to look at their feet. When Franklin hooks that hand, he takes a little step out, just a small step with that lead foot. Now, what happens in this scenario when you've got AJ trying to turn by holding the phone and rotating, turning behind the shoulder? If you're able to take a step towards the side of that backhand so that your lead foot steps on the outside of the back foot of Anthony Joshua's, what happens is that your shoulder, your backhand shoulder, comes into the center line. And so once again, it's a race between how fast you're going to shoot that punch and how fast AJ is able to rotate. And many fighters will fancy their own chances of getting that shot off first. And you know that Francis Ngannou has an understanding of these sorts of angles. Take a little look at this moment here with Tyson Fury. I want you to focus on the feet of Francis Ngannou. Fury's thrown a jab. Now, Francis Ngannou jabbed in return, but look at the back foot of Ngannou. See how it steps around there? You see that? That step around is to try and line up that backhand in the center line of Fury. But Fury's already in a bladed stance. He's not doing what AJ does where he's square on and now he's trying to recover a bladed stance because Fury hasn't launched a big right hand to then square up in this situation. So as a result, Fury's able to ride it and use traffic with his hands essentially to block the shot. Now from here, Fury's still not in a good position and he gets caught with a left hook. But the point is, Francis Ngannou is understanding the angles here. Is he going to be looking at Anthony Joshua and saying to himself, I've analysed Jermaine Franklin. I'm going to look to manipulate the guard of AJ when he lets go of his own shots. I'm going to be punching with this guy and I'm going to be able to find openings. I'm going to be able to line up my shoulder with his centre line. And when I land, it's not going to be the same thing as when Jermaine Franklin lands. I'm going to be able to take this guy out. So what do I think will happen in this particular fight? Well, for the reasons I've explained, Francis Ngannou has a puncher's chance. If he's able to line up Anthony Joshua with one of those backhands down the pipe as AJ's trying to recover his position, or if AJ falls over that lead foot by trying to be too greedy and trying to hurt Francis Ngannou, and Ngannou's able to punch with him and land one of those big haymaking right hands or one of those looping dangerous left hooks that he likes to throw so much, then who knows if he could change the trajectory of the fight with a single shot. But that's essentially what he's looking for because he's too crude to really create and initiate the offense himself against a fighter who's of the level of Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is a fantastic technical boxer who has very, very good balance and very, very good variation in his attacks. In addition to that, Francis Ngannou does bite on a lot of feints. And we spoke about the down parry of AJ. Francis Ngannou was doing that all the time against Tyson Fury. And we know that AJ likes that stab jab to the solar plexus, following upstairs with the right hand over the top. It's been a stalwart of his game for a long time, whether you're talking about Robert Helenius or Kubrat Pulev and so on and so forth. He will be looking for that shot and I'm sure he will land it at some point. But because I don't think AJ is going to be taking too many risks early on, or at least he shouldn't be, he should be focusing on fencing and getting Ngannou to overcommit. And let's remember that Francis Ngannou wanted a 10-round fight rather than a 12-round fight. This guy is not experienced in boxing. He's not sure about how to pace himself. There's no need to take risks early on if you're Anthony Joshua. I believe this fight will go long. It will either be AJ late, catching him late on, or more likely, I think Francis Ngannou will survive, hear the final bell, and Anthony Joshua will win the fight on points. You cannot rule out that Ngannou lands something big by capitalizing on one of those AJ errors. But ultimately, I think AJ is a little bit too clever. He's got a very good team behind him in Ben Davison and Lee Wiley, very analytical. I don't think they're going to give Francis Ngannou the openings that he's seeking. He's not the unknown quantity he was when he fought Tyson Fury. They've got video footage now to study him. And I just think that ultimately AJ's a little bit too accomplished for Francis Ngannou. Let me know what you think, ladies and gents. Please don't forget to hit a stiff jab on the like button, a right cross on the subscribe button, and an uppercut on the notifications button. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.